So just want to start off. My name is Tom Strand. I'm going to be presenting from the booth up here, the projection booth. So it's a little bit different. So I'm live, but here, then we'll do a Q&A. I'll come down there. So that'll be really fun. I just want to thank all our presenting partners, Nottawasaga Futures, County Simcoe, Small Business Center, Barrie Simcoe, Innisfil Economic Development, New Tecumseth, and the BWG Economic Development Group as well. So we'll start off with a land acknowledgement. At the town of New Tecumseth, we acknowledge that we are on the treaty lands and traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples, specifically the Ojibwe, Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. This land is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. New Tecumseth is covered by the Lake Simcoe Nottawasaga Treaty No. 18, signed on October 17, 1818, with the Chippewa Nation. We acknowledge that we are all treaty people and accept our responsibility to honor all our relations and move forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. So just a quick overview, what we'll be doing in terms of the workshop. We will be doing the objectives introduction. We're going to start to look at understanding the film industry, needs and goals, and this will help to identify how we can start looking at marketing. So today's overall goal is really looking at marketing for the film industry and bringing films to your business or to your area, to your location, and becoming part of that. So marketing unique selling points, creating marketing materials, online presence, marketing strategy summary, and then we'll have a 15-minute Q&A, which will be a great time to ask any questions and discover more about what everyone is here representing as well. So what I'm going to do now is just show some highlights from the first two parts, and this will provide a great opportunity to just get an idea of what this has been about so far. So here are some clips to show. Break down silos and bring different industries together and look at the synergies of the tourism-based economy that we have here and film production economy. There's over $3 billion in Ontario's economy in 2022. Attract the big film, but it also helps to bring together different service providers.
Incredible bounty of food and caterers.
Where else can you get a working steam train, right?
I highly encourage you to get involved with filmmaking and with film production, whether you're a vendor, whether you're a filmmaker yourself. A lot of them are small business owners who like moonlight as these creative. Our costume designer got nominated for a Screen Award for Cult Hero, and she was like up against David Cronenberg's costume design.
Yeah.
And she like works at the Curly Club in Owen Sound.
But she's so resourceful, and she just like jumped on it. We were like, are you interested in doing this? And she was like, hell yes.
So how do you make it happen? That's really the whole idea, is like how do we make things happen, and how do we become film-friendly vendors. So that's the overviews there. You can see we had some great guests. We had Jesse Thomas Cook and Liv Collins, who have Collingwood Film Company, and their film had 6 Canadian Screen Award nominations. So it was really great to have them come out and talk about how finding local talent and becoming part of that whole network. So their costume designer, like they said, was working in a bowling alley in Owen Sound. And then she was nominated for a Canadian Screen Award, which is the same as a American Academy Award nomination. So the whole idea here is we're going to look at how we can market and towards as being vendors and service providers. This also includes, when we talk about vendors, service providers, we're also looking at the locations themselves. So we want to really equip everyone with this ongoing knowledge and idea of how to do the marketing techniques that can attract film productions, and how to also position your business, and to think like film producers, to think of like being a filmmaker, what people are looking for on the filmmaking side. And then by the end of this, we hope that you'll have strategies and be able to have actionable marketing strategies that you can take away and look at how to engage with film productions. And I think that's really important too, is that's why we had the Collingwood Film Company come out in our last workshop, was working with mid-sized companies, local companies. There's a lot of local film companies, as we'll learn today as well, and that's really important to bring to the table, to be able to have that working with other companies to gain that experience. You don't have to be working with $100 million production budgets right away in films. You want to work with, get your foot in the door, and that's really what we want to look at as well. So in terms of introduction, just as I said, my name is Tom Strnad. I've been working in film since 2000 and have an extensive knowledge base of working on different levels of films, so larger budget, mid-budget, a lot of indie films, working television and so on. So I bring that side of it, to the film producer hat, to this the economic development conversation. So understanding the film industry as that whole idea with the clip, we're talking about $3.15 billion in Ontario's economy. We have over 45,000 jobs, full-time equivalent jobs. So we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that can become injected into local economies, and that local vendors, service providers, locations can attract and capture. So that's really important. So some of the highlights: over 100 productions in South Simcoe County from 2013 to 2023. As we looked at stats, Murdoch Mysteries, Nightmare Alley, The Boys, Titans, Jack Reacher, and so a lot of films coming through. Big film that came through, The Marsh King's Daughter, that was filmed here in Alliston. Again, what a great location, just driving in here, seeing this amazing downtown, on the way, the fields. I mentioned it was like I was driving through a scene from Fargo, and then it came into like a Hallmark movie. So there's so much diversity in what's available here. So you can see why something like The Marsh King's Daughter would be attracted to this area. So some of the behind the scenes photos, just how it was happening 2021. This released now because of just pandemic delays, but you can see the lights set up and starring Daisy Ridley. So again, this is the whole thing. You get stars coming to your business, to your catering, to your location, to your town, and getting all that star buzz, and then people saying that Daisy could be like, hey, I had a great meal, or this food was great, or what an amazing location that I was in, and all that kind of social media buzz is great too. So understanding the whole film industry, I wanted to break it down into two ideas: the needs and goals. So if you start to understand the complexities, the rules, the responsibilities, and expectations of what film production is looking for, because they have a lot of rules. There's a lot of there's unions, there's guilds, and people, there's a lot of mandatory things. So there has to be travel time. There's per diems, which is basically spending money to spend when you're away from your home. There's also the catering idea that has to be meals every 6 hours, snacks every 3 hours with union actors. So there's a lot of action that has to happen, and responsibilities and legal requirements for the films to undertake. So it's not just they might need food. No, like any film that comes by is going to need catering, because that's what's required through their contracts, working with the union. So ACTRA union in Canada, and then we have SAG-AFTRA in the U.S. And that's it stipulates everything. There you have guilds and unions for the crew. So there's Directors Guild Canada, there's the IATSE, there's NABET, different unions, and same thing. There's turnaround things. So this film is looking for places for their cast and crew to stay. They have to be fed, and they get spending money. Basically with those per diems that they have to, they just end up spending, because they go somewhere, they get a dinner after the shoot, they go somewhere for breakfast before filming starts. So all that per diem money is massive. So we're talking about millions of dollars that can be injected to local based vendors. So what are the primary needs and goals for a film shooting on location? So this is moving out of the Toronto area, moving out of studios, and coming to a place like Simcoe County region. So the needs, finding locations based on that script and genre. So, if you need a small town, like here, you need a movie theater, like this amazing Circle Theater. These kinds of ideas, that's what will be in a script. So the script could say, okay, there's I'm up here in the projection booth, so that could be something in the script. There's a projectionist who lives in a small town. That could be the whole story. Bang, this is the perfect location for that. So finding locations based on script and genre. Then the goal, at the end of the day, is to stay on budget, save money, and to have no complications. And that's why we've titled this whole series as Becoming a Film-Friendly Vendor, to attract to encourage films to come to your area, to your services, to your location, and to have no complications, making it seamless. And we'll look at more of how that translates now. So how does this translate for the vendors, the towns, the locations, the counties, the service providers? So needs, you need to use your unique locations to attract the films. So that's, the first part is really important, to use those unique assets, right? So again, like this movie theater, this historic downtown, the neighboring farm fields around it. There's a lot of unique areas here just within walking distance. So goals, then, as we talked about, they're looking to stay on budget, save money. If you can offer incentives, cost savings, showcase prior experience in film production. So those are the real things. It's like, so people, the production, they want to make sure that there's savings to come to the town. So is there, some sort of some sort of discounts maybe for accommodations? Maybe there's free access to use town-owned facilities, things like that can really be cost incentives and cost savings. The other thing they're looking at is to not have to travel a lot. We're working on a study right now about small town filmmaking, and through some of our consultants, we discovered that just every time that unit, all the film trucks and cast and crew have to move, it can be $10,000 just to move like a few kilometers, just to get the whole crew, the transportation crew, moving all the trucks, moving everybody for a large size production. So that's a lot of money each time they need to just move even a few blocks or a few kilometers. So if you can show that an area could have 10 or 12 viable locations, that could be cost savings, that it could be a one-stop deal where the film can go. And then showcasing that prior film production. So those stills that I was showing before of Marcia King's daughter, being able to showcase what happened before to prospective film producers and location managers. So usually there's a location manager that's looking for these locations. So if they can see that you're film ready and you have that experience, and that's really vital in attracting with those goals. So we look at these kinds of things. Murdoch Mysteries is basically regularly at the South Simcoe Railway, a nonprofit volunteer-based organization. It has a unique location. Where else can you find that train? A working train on a track, steam train, diesel trains they have. There's also the enhanced regional bonus tax credits. So for Canadian productions like Murdoch Mysteries, there's a 10% bonus for being outside the GTA. And then also that location is extremely experienced in hosting film productions. It's a regular thing, like weekly things are happening there all the time, year round. So having that experience and then showcasing that experience is really important. So you see it again through the photos, like what I showed right there. So then you need to look at really marketing those unique selling points, right? So there's a lot of synergy opportunities. We've been always looking at what do we have in our areas here? And there's a lot of tourism-based economies. We're really looking at that, tourism drive or people coming through and having that kind of a synergy opportunity. Looking at, award-winning accommodations, so if you have like the best places to stay, that's crucial, right? That's a great thing. The foodie scenes, right? Working with top chefs. Special event services, like if you're already doing weddings, conferences, music festivals, having that ability. And then having an arts and culture sector. So you already have special skills labor, you have wardrobe, actors, musicians. That was a promo we did for the Whiskey-licious Collingwood event. And you can see it's showcasing the foodie scene, the locations, and there's that real synergy of showcasing how things can work.
And say you'll be coming up roses soon. It all comes back to you. It all comes back to you. The word is you'll be coming up roses.
So that whole idea again of just having these tourism-based type promos, and you're showcasing your foodie scenes and your capabilities, and that's a great way to showcase what you already have. So at the end of the day, we're really saying like there's a lot of this already exists. So how do you start to market to the films? It's like you're looking at your one-of-a-kind locations, so historical buildings, natural wonders, and you saw the last two promos. Like that's exactly what's being shown. Like natural wonders, Georgian Bay, historical buildings like Collingwood terminals, historical downtowns, right? So that whole one-of-a-kind attraction of locations. Specific activities. So we're looking at ski hills, skating rinks, amusement parks, and things. There's a kind of a combo. So you have like that specific where you have the train, historical train. So that kind of combo is really important as well. Then the communities themselves, right? Historical downtowns, charming suburbs, modern waterfront condos, having a variety of communities and location areas. So oftentimes the film, if you start thinking about, okay, how does the story work? It takes place in different areas. So there could be, the downtown, there could be the suburbs, there could be the farm area. So all these kinds of areas exist in our small towns and in the Simcoe County area. So, we're very lucky to have this diversity of communities or developments, I should call them as well. So that's really neat. And then you also have town facilities. So we have town halls, we have libraries, galleries, halls, theaters. All these kinds of town facilities are really, fantastic to use as locations, and that can again be part of that cost savings thing. So if you're a town, if you're economic development, looking at how to bring film, this is something that we're really identifying as those assets that the towns have themselves can be important in the initial attraction that can then lead to further work with getting more locations involved, private businesses, and then all the services and vendors around that. So that's a really neat thing. And then the big thing here, as I mentioned, with the unit moves costing a lot of money, is that proximity of multiple locations. So, can you service many locations in one town? So you have that diversity. So you can have something that looks like an apartment, something that can look like, a store, something that looks like basement. So different things that might be required. I've been talking to different filmmakers, and there's a push sometimes to even make, can we make something look like a city condo in one of our rural locations, because that way it saves the unit move of trying to go to a GTA location for a condo. So can you have kind of stand-in locations? So just thinking about how that could work, the multiple locations. So there's a lot of interesting things with that. So again, those unique locations, the steam train, right? Where else can you find this kind of a working railway? You go to Scotland and you see, the Harry Potter, the train used there. But we have it right here. So this is available, and it's heavily sought after and used, and it becomes an attraction point. And then we start looking at, like I said, with the proximity. So if that someone's filming at that railway, if you're around, we're all near that railway here. So you can start to attract that and say, okay, well, if you're at the railway, you can come to use this location as well. And that starts to become known, and by especially advertising that you want film and you're film friendly. Again, some more unique locations. So we have like the Gibson Center, and we have Christmas with a Prince being filmed there. Gibson Center for the Arts. You can see just how that's working, right? So again, capturing that marketing material is really vital too. You have things like this, the Almond Gathering Circle in Collingwood, quite a unique space with parklands. And again, that's a town asset, right? So it's a town park, working with Parks and Rec, that can be secured and worked with. And then all of a sudden, that's bringing, direct economic impacts. If someone's coming to film in that location, they need catering, they need, maybe tent rentals, they need extra crew, they need daily people. So like contract people to come and help with the location on the day. Background actors, things like that. So a lot of extra can happen. Here's a really interesting thing. So, the producer selection process, starting to get into the producer's head, is, the Collingwood Public Library was used as a university classroom in the film Darker Than Night. So I'm just going to show a clip here, and you can kind of see how what's a library can be, anything.
And that, in a nutshell, is criminal psychology. So, After all that, who thinks this sounds boring? Really? Well, as criminal psychologists, we're on the ground floor. I mean, sure, detectives and lawyers and scientists, well, I mean, pretty much everyone gets more credit than us. But we're the ones who get to decide whether a suspect stands trial or walks free, or whether or not a witness's testimony is taken as fact or as fiction. It's pretty neat, huh? Wow, tough crowd. Okay, well, how about murder? Ooh, you like that stuff. That's exciting, right? Well, basically, using our minds, we can help determine whether someone is innocent or guilty.
What if you're wrong?
Good question from the girl I have never met. Look, we're always working to adopt a greater understanding of the human mind. And that said, it's not an exact science. So, really, the best we can do is strive to minimize the possibility of being wrong. Okay, well, that about does it for me. There's pamphlets at the front if you have any more questions.
Okay, wake up, people. Let's show our thanks to Dr. Carter for taking the time to come speak to us today.
That's like winning the World Series around here.
Yeah, so that's that basically like using the Collingwood Library for a university classroom. It's just a meeting room, great town asset. It was provided at a low cost or no cost, and it brings a film to happen in the library, right? So it's downtown, again, feeding things, catering happens. That was a whole day, filming there, so it brings it all together. So where else can you film a ski scene, right? At multiple resorts, so not just one, but different resorts. Where else can you film with a harbor with the Niagara Escarpment in the background, right? Like beautiful scenery, right? So looking at the producer selection criteria, is okay, I want to do something with yachts and having like these natural wonders, right? So that's beautiful. So now we look at that marketing unique selling points directly to the film's goals, right? To stay on budget, save money, and have no complications. So you got to look at competitive pricing for locations, services, and the film permits. So, the first thing, pricing for locations, it can't be tens of thousands of dollars a day for a location, because that could be the same price point in Toronto. So, we want to start to think about that. What is what's a location price, right? So, typically it could be a few $1,000s for a day, right? But then, larger high demand locations can be 10 or 15 or even more, right? So it's there can be a good amount, but you just have to think about what do you need in terms of, if you're a location owner, what's required to offset being closed, what's for any extra staff you might need, like what makes sense for you. And initially, you have to be competitive. So if you price yourself out of competitiveness, then no one's going to want to use your location. So make sure you're covered for your costs. And that's, I think, people always ask, what should I charge? So I say, look at what are your costs of, like, if you're a restaurant, you're going to be closed for, a week for someone to film in there. What is that cost? What are you losing for the week? Is it shoulder season and it's kind of slow, then look at that, what that cost is. Then the next thing too is like the services. So if you're a service provider, what are the hourly rates and what can be like catering and things. So typically a lot of the films we expect to pay something. It's kind of like the wedding price point. So it's very similar, and that's why I talk about the synergy. So if you're already catering special events, weddings, it's the same price point. So it's staying competitive, but it shouldn't really be a surcharge because it's a film. So think of it, it has to stay kind of in line with what's expected for catering already. And then the film permit side, that's really important one, where we're looking at, how much does a town need to charge? Like maybe there could be no permit fees to start the attraction. If you start to get busy, you start to see permit fees. Toronto for a long time had no permit fee. Now it's up to $500 for a permit fee. So, it's so busy that they need that to deal with the administrative side of things. So initially, that's the whole idea. It could be a low cost, no cost, and then it can build up but you shouldn't be looking at it as like, oh, I need to charge 500 as well, because that could be, again, against the marketing. Establish a local database, so through the town, business associations, consider a film liaison office or designated representative. That's really important. We've been learning like through places like the city of North Bay, they have representatives who, like, if you want to film there, that take you around, show you the area, and look at your script and say, hey, here's all the locations that you can use. They're already knowledgeable in what's there. So having like a designated representative. We'll talk a bit more about it, but Martin Kuzma and the film liaison office and Robert Brown, like, working with having that a local representative and a database that they're working on, which is really imperative. So, and here it is. So the film liaison office, so it's for over 10 years. The office has been working with film productions to access locations, logistics, and permits in the South Simcoe region. Here's the website. And again, this is recorded, so you can catch this again after, but it's autumnsolid.com/film. And there's information on how to make that work. So basically, you contact the office. Film says, hey, I want to film, and they know how to make it all work, and it's like a one-stop shop. And I think that's really important because it's less complicated. We've been looking at how counties and towns, there can be a lot of complexities like county roads, town roads, and so on. So someone who understands that could be really vital. So to have that representative, and that's why I mentioned business associations. So we've been talking to like representatives like on the BIA, like the Business Improvement Associations, and that could be an association that could be really vital to represent all the businesses in an area or a downtown to say, hey, we are happy to have a film happen here, and that person can kind of take everyone through it so that everyone's on the same page. So utilizing the existing infrastructures, I think, are really a great way to do that. So some of the incentives, the next thing, you can include cash back for local cast and crew hiring. This is something that we're seeing in North Bay. They do incentives to hire local crews, so they cover some of the costs. That could be even, we have a lot of these like the employment offices, like the Trax employment centers and things, so there could be a way to potentially work with those to have some cash back or incentives. We're also talking about no fees for town-owned properties, and potentially no permit fees as you start as a town. So as a private business, you can say, okay, I'm just going to cover my costs. It can be really low cost, and then as a town, you can say, okay, you can have the skating rink for no cost, because I know it's going to bring all this economic impact directly to the community. And then really what's important is to have established film policy and regulations to showcase the no complications in working in the region. One of the things that always scares me as a film producer is when I know that they're asked to film somewhere and they're like, oh, we don't have a filming policy. So then I'm worried, like, okay, well, how many people have filmed here before? What happens? Do they understand? And I know what I should be doing, but there's kind of a worry. And then without a film policy, then there isn't really the communication and that. So I think, a good example is filming in Toronto once, and it was a night scene in a taxi. It didn't have plates because it was a picture car just traveling. Pulled over with police while we're filming, and they knew exactly that we're on the street, that we're permitted to be on Queen Street, and we're filming, so there's absolutely no problem. But you can imagine if you're filming somewhere else, there's no policy, same situation, all of a sudden police, are ticketing and don't understand what you're doing because there is no film policy or no film permit. So you really want to have no complications. I think that's really important for regions and towns to look at. And then one of the big last things here is promoting the past film productions that were served. So especially on your social media. So like all those photos I was showing already beforehand, capturing that. So if someone's filming in your town, someone's filming, if you're catering for someone, right, you want to get all of that captured, right? That's really, really important to do and capture. So here's, a great picture that the Novelty Film Liaison Robin Brown provided us. Is the film crew enjoying Rustico Pizza here. So, what a great way to promote. Like, whenever I see this, when I was putting this deck together the other day, I was like, wow, I want to go and have a slice, right? It looks like fun. That, the crew's having some off time and doing that. So then you go, hey, like those become landmarks, right? You see photos like that, they become landmarks of when people want to go, hey, that film was shot there. There's whole tours, right? They go, like Harry Potter tours, they go and like find all the locations and go to it. So just knowing that, like, cast and crew ate somewhere, like, you'll want it. People will go to that restaurant just because they know that in photos. So it's really, really crucial. And here's the most important thing, and I think this is, kind of that marketing 101 idea, is that images tell your story, right? So having those amazing images that can tell your story and highlight like how things can work. So by going inside the producer's head, this is the next thing we're going to look at, is lookbooks and trying to, you kind of want to pre-establish things and not make it difficult. So the more you can say, hey, we can deal with all these different themes. So I made a note here that each film production has a distinct story, themes, genre, a look, and it's being sought after by the production to fulfill that look. So at the bottom line, that goal again, the producer is searching for the most cost-effective way to achieve that by filming on location, or they might just build it in a studio. So, if the location can be, cost-effective and attractive that way, they're going to go to the location. Then that brings in all the vendors, all the service providers, and does that. So we got to remember that, like, being in the producer's head is like, if I'm making a horror film, that's the looks that I need to look at, and that's the kinds of locations. So I want, abandoned buildings, Gothic architecture, these kinds of things. If I want a Hallmark movie, if I'm doing like a romantic comedy, a Christmas movie, I want to have that amazing, like, downtown. Just like when I was driving through here with the snow, Alliston, it's a Hallmark movie, right? So it's perfect to get pictures of what's happening here right now in this weather. So here's just like some ideas of a thriller that we did called Dead Dreams. We had motels, like an old kind of almost closing motel that we could rent out the whole motel. We used ski chalets to rent out for cast, crew, and filming. Then we used the Niagara Escarpment, the forest and ridges and all its beauty, Collingwood grain terminals, and all of this was basically within a 15-kilometer radius. So it was so easy. And you can see, here's the images. It's not like this is like images that would come out of a tourism photos, but this is the thriller look, right? So if you're in the producer's head and you're like, okay, this is what your place can look like, you can make it look like a horror film, right? So here's some of those ideas of the genres, right? So adventure films, Christmas movies, the horror, thriller, comedy, romantic comedy, sci-fis, right? So you can persuade a film to shoot in your area if you can show that it's viable visually. And I have some video clips here too, but so the Ontario Film Commission, this is part of the Ontario Creates organization. They have things called the Ontario Lookbook. And what's really cool is you can see that some of the titles here, Ontario from above, nature looks, industrial looks. So they basically have videos that they're looking to showcase what different looks can be in Ontario. So they're showing, like, here's the diversity of what locations can fit different genres, different type of productions. And that's the really, it's a really cool concept of the lookbooks. So let me just pull this up here for a second. So again, like what a great video that can, quickly highlight what's, available. And you can see that there's a lot of the synergy with, the tourism videos. So it looks just like a tourism promo, but they're really looking at the types of locations that are heavily used and can attract a film production. Right, so here's some of the images. So like, having this winter scene, this icy winter scene with the terminals. Again, getting into the producer's head, like this is a magical type of scene, right, that can be used. Instead of just having the terminals in a regular photo, like show what it's like in the winter, the different seasons, 4 seasons of your location, of your area. And then I'm like, okay, well, what happens? All of a sudden this could be like a thriller film. It's like from like the Lighthouse film or something. We can just make it black and white, right? You can have different ways to showcase the images and what it could look like and the moods. So again, this was a clip from a Side Launch Days promo of SUP racing in the bay there, the Side Launch area in Collingwood. So like that, and then okay, I can make it look like a tropical water, right? So you can play with all these tools in marketing. So manipulating your images to further help tell that story. This was a highlight from Frozen in Time in Collingwood. Again, like, showcasing the this kind of Hallmark movie type event that can happen here. And this, again, this could be vintage, right? So it's like, okay, I have that image. I can also do like sepia, black and white images, and showcase the diversity of what could happen in these kinds of settings. This was from the terminals. So usually very bright looking terminals. Like here's this look, right? It's totally unexpected of how you usually see the Collingwood terminals, and this is this like green tones and stuff for a horror film. So if you're in the producer's head, you can really make that work with your locations. And again, a shot from the Patiolicious promo showing downtown night people. So I think it's not just about the empty locations. I'm trying to say, okay, if you have your marketing assets, again, if you're a service provider, if you're doing events, so catering, or if you're doing let's say tent rentals, tables and things, showcase your business in action, right? With people enjoying themselves, and then the whole foodie scene, right? So if you're a restaurant, having these assets and showcasing what the amazing food is, will get people to want to use you for catering, right? When I see this picture, right, I'm just like, okay, let's have this. This is amazing. So that whole idea, right? So how can we start to use the synergy effect? Because we already have a lot of these tools. So just as businesses marketing ourselves, as vendors, as locations, as private locations, as towns, we have this amazing marketing already at our fingertips. So we're suggesting that you can start looking at these synergy ideas. So promo videos for tourism can easily be rebranded for film and repurposed and remodeled to fit, to showcase, hey, come and film, Hallmark movies, come and film, action movies, come and film, nature documentaries, come and film food TV series, right? There's tons of foodie shows that are happening, right? So if you also showcase that there's a foodie scene, that's going to attract even like TV series like for Food Network. So that whole idea can be really cool. So using these kinds of videos and making that work. So let me just pull a shot here. This was a promo that we did for Collingwood. It's Frozen in Time, and there was the CBC Hockey Town, I think, came to Collingwood as well. But it's a great promo that can really showcase what a town can be, like again, those family movies, those like I call it the Hallmark movie, the Christmas movie, right? It can really work well. So here it is.
Once upon a time, in the town of Collingwood, there was a festival that brought people together to celebrate the magic of winter. The town prepared a spectacular sporting event that would be seen across the land, with live music, games, and more for all to enjoy. Families came from near and from far to experience the thrill of the frozen ice slide and to discover the stories told by the ice sculptures. This weekend, celebrate the magic of winter at the Frozen in Time Festival, and experience the Rogers Hometown Hockey Tour, all happening downtown Collingwood.
Right, so it totally has that look of a Christmas movie, right? Like it's all there, showcasing the area, showcasing what's possible as a location. So here, let's move on from there. So that idea too, like food shots, promos, showcase the variety of foods, catering, right? That's really important. At the end of the day, I know I've been talking a lot about like locations, catering, but those are the two main things. Film needs a location to film it, and they need to feed everyone, and then everything else spawns from that. So if you showcase your locations, or you're a private location owner, and then you can also showcase there's catering available, that's a win-win combination, right? So having those foodie shots, so showcasing what's available, right? Like making that attractive. And then also having your event promos. So if you service something, you hosted things in the past, music festivals, conferences, anything like that, you want to showcase those events, just like this the Hockey Town event that Collingwood had. You can see that it's possible to film and have a big crowd, and it looks great. Then you're adding your company to or services to databases. So the Nottawasaga Filming's office, they're working on a database, and we need to see more of that. So that's definitely something that should happen. And as we have more film offices, there's also the Ontario Film Commission. So that's a really important part of bringing your online presence. So databases. We'll talk a little bit more about other online presence, but we'll look at this database. So the Ontario Locations Library. This is where every producer, location managers, they go to this database. You just type in, hockey rinks, and it'll show you all the Ontario hockey rinks that are in specific areas. You can put ranges and so on. So it's a real important database. It's totally free of charge. You just need to register as a location contact, and here's the website info. It's the OntarioCrates.ca website, and that's vital because that's where it is. And the other thing that's really important is to make sure that it's up to date. So even if you have your location there, make sure it's up to date. Make sure your contact information, you have the right people to contact, the right emails, and so on. Again, no complications. You want to be able to quickly find the thing. So you go to list your property. And first you have to register, and then you start to list your property. So this is what it will look like. You go to there's an Ontario Crates Property Owners Package, and then you go to register now. And then you go as a location contact, and then this is what it looks like. So you put your photos, you submit, and then here's like some highlights of what it looks like. Different photos from the Gibson Center, gives some distance, the region, municipality, and what's available in it. So that's what a typical listing would look like. Here's some different photos, interiors, right? So again, the more photos, there isn't really a limit. You can have different seasons, different types of interiors, different tones, right? So this is where I'm suggesting like have it, showcase it. What does it look like in black and white? There's no requirement that it can't be like that. Location information, contact person, and then website and so on. So it's quick, simple, and it's free. So that's where you want to put your your actual locations to list them. So then the other thing too is really looking. You want to update and showcase the different uses of location or other services. So car rentals, catering, vendor work, right? So include all that marketing material and as part of your contract. So that's what I'm suggesting here is that if you're working on with a film, make sure that you get some of that marketing material or that you capture some as well. So I'm suggesting here, add a bonus clause that you get 5 to 10 photos of behind the scenes or on-set stills, and maybe they get a discount, right? If kind of in that idea. So I'll give you a discount if you provide me with all the marketing materials of the film. And because films already have that marketing publicity on site, they already have publicists, and they have set photographers. They're getting all this done. So try to capture some of that. And usually they're happy to do that because it helps promote the film. Helps promote you, so make sure you really include that, and it's a lost opportunity if you don't capture photos of, if your car, let's say you have an antique car and it's been on a film, make sure you get pictures of it being there. If you're a caterer and you're feeding, make sure you get, you're providing food services for a film, make sure you get pictures of that service happening. So if you're on set, get the pictures. If you're not on set, make sure you ask the production to give you some of the pictures too. And I also note here to always ask the production to make sure that it's okay, because there might be some publicity things where different stars you can't take pictures of, but usually just ask and make it work and work with them. So then the other thing too is really this website and search engine optimization, that whole idea. So you really want to, as a vendor, service provider, you want to make sure that you list film and television in your services. So if you do catering for weddings, conferences, add that film and television. Because if I'm searching on a website, let's say I'm going to a certain town, I'm filming somewhere, I look up like restaurants, catering, and if it says that they already do film and television, then I'm like, okay, this company already knows how to do that, so I'm going to go to them. So just that one extra word, that catering for weddings, special events, and film and television, I'm going to actually go to them right away. So it's that simple, just adding those extra words. Tents, tables, chairs, all that kind of stuff. Again, adding film and television. So, emergency services, plumbing services, that kind of stuff. So, make sure that you say that you are happy to work for films, and that's really that whole idea of becoming film friendly. So include all the services you do, but always put that you can also provide those services for film and television. The other thing too is showcasing some of the specialized offerings. That can be really important. Now what we're seeing is there's a whole CBC report of sustainability practices and kind of the carbon footprint of film productions. So every US film has to have a carbon calculation of what their footprint was on the production. So if they can include sustainable concepts, then that helps them, and it's another attraction part. So this is something that's new, but that's also going to be very important in the next decade. So if you are a town, or if you are a service, you should start really looking at developing your services that are offer, for example, a catering company should be looking at composting, eco-friendly supplies, excess food going to food banks, and then also green power sources. So can you have battery powered options? Can you have direct grid plug-in in a downtown? That can reduce generators and carbon emissions. And there's something called the Ontario Green Screen, and they have a whole report, and it shows all of their recommendations. So if you go again to the Ontario Create site, there's an Ontario Green Screen report, and it showcases what should be done. That grid access, I think, is really important. I talked to Town of Collingwood about that, and they have some panels that they can plug power into for music festivals and special events. So it's actually a multi-purpose idea. It can be used for films, but also if your downtown's active and has events happening or music festivals or could use grid access, that could be part of a new infrastructure update. We've also seen a lot of EV chargers. So let's say production has EV rentals or a fleet of electric vehicles for their production. They need to charge somewhere. So make sure that's part of the sustainability plans. Or as a private business owner, that you can have look at having EV chargers as well for productions that they can plug into. So that again helps attract. Right. So this is that whole showcase those green initiatives. So talk about what you're doing, and make that work. And here's a totally electric powered generator. So instead of having a big diesel generator, that works. So and that could be a big thing too. A lot of times that could be a contentious issue where locations or towns are saying, well, I don't want this generator, with a big diesel generator running for 12 hours, 16 hours in the downtown, all these emissions and so on. So the battery powered generators are hard, but maybe that's something that as a town or as a collective that can be looked at as grid access reduces that generator. So if they can plug in and use high amperage power through the grid, they don't have to bring the diesel generator, and then that avoids that kind of issue of bringing in that kind of that generator that's loud. Usually, some are loud, they're usually quiet, but some louder ones at the end of the vehicles. They can be, and also all the emissions coming from it can be. It does cause an odor. And then showcase your location. So look at those awards. association membership. So are you part of a business association? Are you part of a guild or union already? You might have some training. We're finding like, there's a lot of crew, there's a lot of actors that might not live in the Toronto area, but they live outside the Toronto area that could be union too. So make sure that people, your local film offices or business associations know about that. And again, being part of different, restaurant associations, BIAs, small business associations, all of those, list all of that, because that's important, because that means that you adhere to standards and certain, qualifications as well. So that's really an important thing. Put your reviews, right? So if there's other clients, wedding reviews, all that kind of stuff. If you haven't done films before, use past reviews, like put that all out there to make sure that the films understand that you have great reviews. People love your services. People love working with you. Then specialized training. So if you're, again, films will need background actors. Do you have special skills? Like maybe you have some stunt skills, you have martial arts training, things like that. Then trade skills, we're seeing people like carpenters, artists as well. So that could help for art department. So sometimes signage has to be done. If you're coming to a downtown, you have to put new signage up on all the town signs. So that's all really an important part of it. And then also is the business part of a local film office. And North Bay has a great example of that, where they have that database, and they're part of that, so they can recommend like kind of preferred vendors in a way. So that could be a good strategy that a downtown BIA could have a list of vendors like that. These are all qualified vendors that they're happy to work with films, and the BIA can maybe have that listing. So that could be a really neat thing to do. And then also, you can be networking with the actual productions. So there's listings, so you want to be talking to production managers, location managers. So if you go to this particular site, Ontario Creates, they have a in production. You can just even Google it, Ontario Creates in production. And this is like a list of the productions that are happening in Ontario. So you can find out, hey, is something happening in my town? And these are like usually larger, mid-sized, larger productions, TV shows, feature films, TV movies. And it'll have like information. So PM is the production manager. That's usually who you want to try and find. And they always have an email. So there's always an email contact that's kind of a general office email. And you can send an email out, you can have a phone call and figure out, hey, you're going to be in whatever town, it's near me. I do this type of work, this kind of service. Are you looking for a location? Are you looking for cars or anything? You can just introduce. And it's great. Like I think, as producers, I love hearing from people like, hey, are you doing something? I provide these services, and I'm near you, because that saves all the time and money of trying to bring other people or contractors from Toronto to another location. So it's really beneficial that way. Also, then really think about connecting with local production companies. So we've identified at least 20 different film companies and television production companies in Simcoe County and the neighboring counties. Collingwood Film Company that I showed in the beginning. Riverbank Pictures, there was a testimonial from Francis Mitchell. These are all companies that are here. So if you start to, work with local companies that are doing film and television, gets your foot in the door. And sometimes it could be overwhelming to work on a large, U.S. Hollywood film or production right away. But if you work with a smaller company, it's we're all here, we're neighbors this way, and it's a gentler way to kind of ease into it and get used to the idea. But again, by showcasing how things should be done or how they can work, you kind of know what's expected through this webinar series or this workshop series. So connect with these local companies and really think about making that work. So I'm gonna just let's see. I'm gonna just show one more clip here. So this is kind of an interesting one. This is like the Ontario Creates their website, and I love this tagline: Ontario, where the world comes to film, right? And so they're representing the whole province, but that's the whole idea. Like, what is your tagline, right? Like, what is your town's tagline? What's your region's tagline? So think of it that way too. If you're looking at that kind of economic development side of things. How can this work? And I think that it's a great reel. They have this aerial, but they're showing the productions that are happening. So this is what I'm talking about, is getting that behind the scenes stuff, because then it's exciting. It's like, okay, this is all happening here. Star Trek's filmed here. We have like the Titan series filmed here, showing like the work happening. So this is just like a little loop that they have in their, but just, seeing that the productions are happening, the set of Star Trek, seeing the water towers for raining, seeing like, things moving, underwater shots, so being able to showcase that, I think, is really crucial, is to have these kinds of sizzle reels for your company, for your town, for your location, with the behind the scenes, because then that gives that credibility of like, you really understand and how things work within the film production side of things. Okay, so basically, just to summarize, right? So we're looking at the marketing strategy. What does that mean? So understanding the film industry, I think we have a good idea of that. I welcome everyone to watch parts 1 and 2 of this workshop series 2, where we really go into the in-depth ideas, the roles, the unions, and so on. If you haven't been able to join us yet, so those are all going to be on the Nautilus Saga Futures YouTube channel. So understanding the film industry needs and goals. We talked about that today. Marketing unique selling points. So what are those? And how does that work for your vendor, as a location, as a service provider, as a business owner? Creating your marketing materials, and oftentimes that's not totally going from from scratch. You can rebrand, and I think we already have so many assets as business owners, as towns, as private businesses, as vendors and service providers. We already have a lot of these marketing materials. It's just understanding. I hope that we've been able to showcase some of that idea of being in the producer's head and understanding what the producer is looking for, and making that work. And then that online presence, right? Having the words. It's really simple. Even just saying that you work for film and television, that will show up. So when I'm doing searches, any producer, production manager is looking for stuff, any kind of service provider, any kind of location, it says film and television somewhere. They're like, okay, I know this person, this company, they're ready to work with me. I don't have to explain stuff. Like, they're ready, they have the knowledge base. Yeah, thanks everyone for this. Again, thanks to all our presenting partners and sponsors on this. And as mentioned, we will have this available on to replay and rewatch. To keep the conversation going, tom@sgma.ca. Feel free to shoot me an email, and we can keep that conversation going as well.